And welcome to another episode of Nights at the Round Table. To your boy, Man Weezy. To the right is Be Real. To the left, AJ Johnson, Reyes.
Hi.
What is up? If you guys are on the YouTubes or wherever, you get to see our pretty faces. If you're not, you get to hear our sexy voices. It's a win-win.
Yes.
Either way.
Big ourselves up.
But wherever you're at, please subscribe and hit the likes and hit the shares and hit all the good stuff because it means a lot to us and it actually helps us so much. How you guys doing?
Good.
I just ate a very good parfait.
I just had some really good chips and salsa, and the salsa is made by Ange. Ange is doing her thing, man.
Hey, you're so Mexican.
I used to be real good at making salsa, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. I was like, dud, left and right. But this one was pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
This is better than last batch.
For sure.
Last
Oh
batch
my God.
wasn't terrible, by the way. It just was like, you know how sometimes when you just, there's just something. It's a little something, and you can't put your
boring.
finger on.
It was boring.
It was boring.
It didn't appeal.
It didn't appeal to the masses. Didn't appeal to the minimums either. I wanted to do this. So this is a little. It's called.
Wait. We'll get into Wordfuls, but this episode, are we not going to do a what you're reading, or you want to do this one first?
Whatever you want. You're the
Okay, we'll
leader.
do this one first because what you're reading will lead into the actual episode.
Yeah.
So let's do this. This is a game. Go ahead, introduce
Okay.
this game. 'Cause
Okay.
I think your friend is.
So, and action. So this is called Wordful, the game. My friend Liz Hernandez created this. She created Wordful. You can check them out on Instagram. And I have the Wordful gratitude cards where you pull a word every morning. And it's like, it could be forgiveness or it could be loyalty or whatever. Anyways, this game, it's kind of like conversation starters, but they're deep questions. And when she gave it to me, she was like, you're going to want to play this with people that you know and trust, that you love, not like randos. Your friend brought like two random friends. And it's like, so how do you feel about having kids? Like,
And we played this at the dinner table last time we went to dinner, all of us.
So we went to dinner with Maddie and Brandon and we pulled a few cards and it was some really
good.
great conversation
good.
that we had. So I was like, let's do it on the podcast. So I pulled a couple of questions. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
You pulled 3?
I pulled 3.
Okay.
If we talk too long on one, we'll just do one. Okay.
No, I'm
so
good.
if you could relive any year of your life, which one would it be?
Done. Easy.
What?
My second year of Bible college.
Oh, and I guess we should clarify, like, are you reliving it to do it exactly the same way? Or are you
that's
going to
good.
relive it to redo it and make some changes?
I'm gonna make some changes. I'm
Okay.
gonna go in even more. It was pretty special. I love college. It was
Okay,
awesome.
but if you went in and changed it, then your life would be changed today. It wouldn't be today. So
no, not this change. Well, no, I guess it would. I wouldn't change this particular part because I was gonna say do that Canadian chick differently,
what?
and not like do her differently, like because we didn't get to do it.
Hilarious. I'd do
But
her, man.
I would
should've been
do her
hitting it from the
differently.
back.
It was this Canadian chick. She was super awesome, the hot chick of our school, and I ended up dating her for like 2 days, or maybe it was 3 days. I don't know. It was like it was a short week. But she handed me my first heartbreak, and it lasted like 6 months. But it wasn't her that did it. It was the fact that at that point, up until that point, I have never been rejected. So she actually just handed me my first rejection, which most of us, you know, we deal with this in elementary school, you know, when we don't make a team or we don't get picked. But I've never not made a team and I've never not gotten picked. So this was the first time, and it made me reverse to like a child. I was so messed up, but it taught me forgiveness. And that was the first time that I saw how powerful it was to forgive. And that lesson has held me.
So you would go
my
back
whole
to
life.
that year.
I would go
and
back
you
to
would
that
do it
year.
differently.
What I would do differently. Yeah, well, because that year it was, you know, even I always say that it was my biggest heartbreak, but it was also my biggest like year because it was such a fun year. You know, we became intramural basketball champs. Like I put on like 12 pounds of pure muscle. It was just a good year, man. I was doing music with Paul and Liz and everything was like, it was dope. Little Lakeland, Florida. It was just, yeah, I loved it.
How
That's
much
a
you
fun-
be?
It's funny because as you were talking, I was like going through my Rolodex of memories and I was like, man, if I could relive. There's a couple, but I guess the one that I would pick would probably be 2011. So this is me heading into my junior year of college. Okay. And then this is at the height of all the things that are happening between my dad and my mom in their marriage and our family splitting. I wish I could relive that year because one, it felt like such a terrible year, but how much of if I could go back and relive it, I would have had a much better basketball season. I would have tried to have a lot more fun. I would have taken far more pressure off myself to try and fix things and make things happen. And I would have been far less antsy to get ahead to what the next thing is and feeling better and just embrace kind of all of it and just live life. Like, I think at that point in my life, especially my theology, like I was such a like holiness type guy. And almost to the point where it was like legalistic in my life where I was kind of like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. Nope, I won't do this, you know? And so it was like I removed myself from so much of just like the world in the name of trying to be better than people in a righteous way. So I would relive that year because I think I would have loved my life a whole lot more. Like I had everything in my power. I just didn't know. Yeah. You know? So that would be a huge year for me because like I came off a sophomore season, which was a really good season. I was close to averaging double digits in points. I had like 4 or 5 assists a game or whatever. Like I was really setting myself up to like have a really good junior year. And then boom, you know, falls apart. I have a major concussion. I'm out like 8 weeks. And then I'm like dealing with the weight of everything that's going on. Oh, if I relive that year, dude, oh, it would have been, and I'd have probably bought some Bitcoin. Bitcoin. I would have taken my scholarship check every month, and I'd have just put some in Bitcoin, man. Bitcoin was like under $1 then.
I'm so mad at myself for getting out of Bitcoin.
Oh man,
Bitcoin was back then.
Yeah, you remember when we had the studio in Castlewoods?
Yeah.
And Josh and Jay, all that we were, that was when, and that was like 2017. That's when I bought Bitcoin and then got out.
Why did you get out?
Because I didn't know what it was, and I always feel stupid investing in things that I don't know.
I'm trying to get something off your lip. And
it'll save you. I had to learn that lesson last year with investing.
Yeah.
But I'm much better now. It was a really great week.
So we have no Bitcoin?
We have some, but we would be millionaires right now. I mean, you know, we'd have way more.
Why you did that?
I know.
Yeah.
I put like $1,000 in.
It's crazy.
And it's $1,000 that you're like, oh, let me get out.
I know. So stupid.
Yeah.
But I was different back then. At the end, I was bankrolling our freaking pandas things. So.
Dude, at the time I first heard about Bitcoin, I had extra money that I was just spending, just being stupid because it was the first time I got a good paycheck playing pro ball. If I'd have put a tenth, not even a tenth, if I'd have put like, just that into Bitcoin then when I first heard about it, I'd be worth $60 million today. It is still one of the things where I really realize I'm like, man.
Didn't Reggie tell us too? Reggie told us.
Did he?
Yeah, your friend Reggie.
Oh
I
man,
remember.
I try not to beat myself up because I've had a couple like sleepless nights where I've really hung that over my head. I'm like, well, you know what? You can't go back in the past, Brandon. You gotta live into the future, baby.
Unless you got to go back to 1 year.
Bitcoin
and
year.
relive it.
What's yours, babe?
I would say, so I'm listening to like what you guys are talking about, and I wouldn't go back to any high school days or anything like that. I don't want to relive angst of high school at all.
High school was fun.
And then I wouldn't want to relive like when I first got out here and was like chasing my dreams, because that was such a fun time already, and like I did what I needed to do. And I mean, if anything, I would like loosen up more, not be so conservative. But I would say I would relive the year after so my stars started to rise, like the nail salon video, Mad TV, Bon Kwikwi. She's now a headlining comedian. She does an hour special. My hour special came out in, I think, 2009. And right after that, things started to slow down for me. I would go back and relive that year, now knowing, having sought like guidance and learning about the stars, the planets, astrology, and things like that, and speaking to this woman who was telling me that the way that my stars and planets are in my chart, that it shows all these things happening in my life. My star is rising and then it's descending, and that's where it's at. And then I'm about to enter a season where it starts rising again. If I had that kind of understanding back then, that when things were slowing down and I wasn't booking anything and it was like hard to like come, I used to book pilots all the time, and then all of a sudden I couldn't even get callbacks. If I had that wisdom, knowing like, no, you're right where you're supposed to be. This is part of the plan. You're supposed to be slowing down right now. This is, don't fight this, embrace this. Go into a hibernation season of going inward and working on you instead of fighting it and being like, oh my God, what's happening? Nobody likes me anymore. I'm done. My career's over. I feel like I would go and relive. So that would be like 2000, maybe 11, 12. I mean, we got married in 11. So maybe like 2012, I would go back to that year and just understand where I'm at is right where I'm supposed to be, and I would approach life differently.
That's good. Good stuff.
That's a good one.
Thanks, Laura. Oh, you want to do another one? Yeah. Okay. If you could get career or life advice from a successful person, who would it be? Career advice or life advice? If you could sit down with them like for an hour and they're going to mentor you for an hour.
Okay, so for career, it'd probably be someone like Grant Cardone.
I was thinking that right before you said that.
For life, it would be Elon Musk.
For life.
Yeah. He's so fearless. He's won, he's lost. He just kind of fucking like goes for it. So I'm like, I would love to pick his brain and just see, because he always bets it all. Like he just doesn't live on like a planet of safety, and that has to be exhilarating.
But wouldn't that still be in career?
I mean, you can't really separate the two, right? Risking it all, like in life. So okay, you mean like life, meaning like you want to get like a relationship person, like?
I don't know. Well, it just said life or career, so
Yeah.
could be all in one. All in one. Let's do that. All in one. Who would be
I
your
just
person?
look at somebody's life, and because it's different. Like I wouldn't go to Grant Cardone for that. I'd go to Grant to learn about real estate. But Elon, I would go to just learn about life, because he takes risk, right? And I think that's what life is. It's all about taking risk and going for things that you never thought you could accomplish. And out of anyone in this globe right now, like sure, Bezos is awesome, but Bezos brought us stuff that we already had. Elon is bringing us stuff that we didn't know we needed. And that's kind of like the way his mind thinks is like, bruh, he's literally next level. Whereas Bezos just capitalized of what's already there, and he just brought it to us quicker.
Yeah. Elon would definitely be on top of that list for me as well. But because I mean, I absolutely love him. I love everything that he's doing with Neuralink and SpaceX and of course Tesla, and just, you know, his ideas that are constantly challenging the status quo and bringing us into an evolved form of what humanity could be. Like truly, you know what I'm saying? And like, I know people get on him because, you know, no one likes a billionaire.
Right.
Unless you're a billionaire.
I love him. I love billionaires.
You know what I'm saying? Oh man,
they prove it can happen.
In the words of Mace, he goes, "If money ain't changed you, you ain't made enough."
Yeah.
Anyways, another talk, another day. I guess for me, I would probably say I would love to have like just a day where it just be me and Richard Rohr.
Oh yeah, Richard Rohr would be good.
Like, I realized over these last 3 years how much that man's life and his words have impacted my life.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would just be like sitting down with a grandpa, you know, and just like,
he reminds me of the Jurassic Park grandpa.
yeah, he's like the cosmic grandfather for me. He's like what Picard is on Star Trek, you know, and like just telling him what's going on with me and process. And I feel like he has so much wisdom to offer.
Yeah.
He would be like, this. I would cry. I would laugh.
Yeah.
I would jump up and down. I just walk down with my head down, you know, just like all of it. And I feel like, man, that would be such a, because like, you know, you hear stuff and truth obviously applies to everything, everyone, everywhere. But then when you start getting like truth that is directly related to the whatever situation that you find yourself in, then all of a sudden you're just like, oh man. And I feel like that would just be crazy for me, like life. Because I career advice, you know, there's a couple people in the different streams I'm in, but I'm like, life advice, Father Roar.
Yeah, Roar.
That's great. That's a good one. I feel like that'd be a good one for you too.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love Roar.
Do you want to do any takebacks or?
Huh?
Are you good with your answer, or do you want to do any takebacks? Would you like to do some tradesies of Elon for Father Roar?
No, I still want to. Maybe I'll trade Cardone.
Okay.
And get Roar.
That's a good trade.
Sorry,
I appreciate that trade.
Like 10x it. 10x it.
What about you, babe?
So I feel like if it was career advice, it wouldn't be somebody like my friend Kevin Hart, because he works way too hard and I don't want to work that hard.
Yeah.
So I don't want advice from you. But I would want advice from somebody who's like a hyphenate in the entertainment industry, but does multiple things, like has businesses and things like that. Like Gwyneth Paltrow was an actress, producer, started her Goop. And I feel like just based on the things that I've seen with Goop, I would probably vibe with her wisdom that she's learned over the years. So I feel like I would love to sit down with Gwyneth Paltrow for some career advice, for an hour of a mentorship. I would love to pick her brain. That would be cool.
That good.
And I feel like that card kind of leads us into what we're talking about today a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the books that I just picked up recently, it's funny. Man, I realize, I will say this as a disclaimer, TikTok has now become influential in my life. It has introduced me to new restaurants in this area that I could take my beautiful wife to.
Yes.
It has introduced me to life hacks and things that I should find at Trader Joe's, at
Yes.
Costco, on Amazon. And then the other thing too, it has introduced me to books. So however the algorithm is right now on my TikTok, I hope it does not change. Yeah. Because, and then it's like recipes for food, which I love. So one of the books I picked up is, again, I feel like my life is so much on the go, especially in mornings, right? I'm up first thing at 6 a.m., nowhere near where Manny's up at. 6 a.m. is early for me. And so I have like a 25-minute window before I'm heading out for my first session of the day in the morning. And so that's time for me to make an espresso, hop in the shower, you know, grab something, and then read a little something. So I love the thought of having a tiny bite to just chew on for the rest of the day. So the name of this book is called The Daily Laws. It is 366 meditations on power, seduction, mastery, strategy, and human nature. It's by this guy named Robert Greene.
Wow.
I first got introduced to Robert Greene by reading his book called The 48 Laws of Power. Like understanding power dynamics, how to gain more power, how to see power, healthy power, unhealthy power, all sorts of stuff. So anyways, it is one page and it is a thought, it is a quote, and then one of the excerpts from one of his many books that he's written.
Wow.
And so last week there was some on apprenticeship, right? And of course that is kind of a not so much used term these days, you know, like we don't have so many people. So like if you're to go back in time, you know, and your apprenticeship of learning how to make shoes, like you would serve under a master shoemaker and you would learn his ways, what he does, yada, yada. Same thing like an artist. And so the idea of apprenticeship is still here. Obviously, it's more served as someone who you might see as a mentor or someone who, if you're in a church space, see as a spiritual father or mother, right? It is someone who is more experienced, wiser, and is now trying to lead you down a similar path.
We'd call it an internship.
Yeah, internship. And so I realized with my coaching business, a lot of the kids that I have, I'm training them in a way for them to master the game of basketball. So again, it'd be weird to refer myself as a master, but in the eyes of this thing, this is the same language. And so it had a thought, and it started off with this quote from Leonardo da Vinci, who we're all familiar with. And he says, "Poor is the apprentice who does not surpass his master." And I was like, man, that's good. And there were so many thoughts that flowed from that for me. And one of the things is I realized there has been so much church hurt from spiritual fathers and mothers who, again, instead of their heart and their actions showing, hey, I want you to surpass me, it's now not that case. So it's been in a lot of other settings where people are like, I actually don't want you to surpass me. I want you to stay where you continually serve me in my vision. So it's like, I can't fathom the fact that you're going to get bigger than me. So then all of a sudden it shows like, hey, that's not a true spiritual father or mother. Now it's just a jealous big sister or big brother. Because the heart of any good leader is that these people who are entrusting their time, their lives with me, I want you to go way further than I ever could, right? This is the heart of Jesus. This is why Jesus says in John, he says, hey, the things that you guys are seeing me do, you will do greater works. Right? And that's always like it's kind of like those words obviously that Jesus said are powerful, but what's more powerful is the heart intention behind it.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want you to just take what I'm doing and just replicate it. Like, go and take this to a place where I couldn't take it, which is crazy to think that Jesus would envision that his disciples or followers could do greater things than he himself did.
Right.
You know? And so one of the things I was realizing with my kids that I'm working with is that, man, I am preparing you to be far better than I ever could. And that is also me letting go of the fact that if people forget about me, it's okay because they know about you.
Wow. That's hard.
Right? And that's really hard, especially too when you have the student surpass the master. And I got a couple kids who I'm now working with and I'm like, you're for sure going to surpass me. And it's going to be awesome. Like now my heart is happy because I'm like, man, this is everything that you're supposed to be. And one of the things it said was, where is this? Let me see. Yeah. Well, he was talking about one of the things is sometimes it's also a curse to learn under somebody that's so great, like so brilliant in their field, because sometimes you could get lost in their shadow.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you start idolizing them as well,
Yeah.
and they become like a god almost, and you don't want to surpass them, or you don't think you even can, because you take this identity of being beneath them and just they are up here, and then like, let me constantly learn from me, so you don't even want to surpass.
Yeah. That you're comfortable in this like little corner that you've now been kind of put into.
Yeah.
And so, and that's the crazy thing about it is that when you feel like, I'll never become this, all of a sudden that wanes on your confidence. Okay. And so obviously once your confidence is not there, then you become stuck there. So one of the things is this guy was saying in this book is like, you have to be relentless in your pursuit of expansion. If you keep this mindset as somebody who's constantly learning, you're going to outgrow your master. You're going to outgrow the space that you feel like you've been cornered in, but you have to be relentless in your pursuit of expansion. And so one of the things he was saying was that it is this thing of constantly being exposed to ideas in the wide world. You'll tend to develop a hunger for more and more knowledge. And once you find that, it's going to be much harder to remain satisfied in any narrow corner, which is precisely the point. So it's interesting because my wife is from the South. We've talked about this plenty of times. And so it's so funny because my wife and I, you know, we're pretty well traveled and we live in a very diverse city with so much to offer. But sometimes even myself too, we'll talk to friends back home and we're like, how are you still in the same place? How has nothing grown? And with us, and not to say that we're like, we've made it or anything, but with us being filled, like our lives being filled with so much grand ideas,
Right.
it's like you can't help but want more,
Right.
which is precisely the point that I'm now, I don't want to just stay in this narrow corner that I've been in. And so this is what he's saying, that the people in your field, in your immediate circle, are like worlds unto themselves. Their stories and viewpoints are going to expand your horizons and build up your skills. And again, it says those circles will slowly widen. So first, when you first come into something, right, your resources, the connections you have, the people you're surrounded with are very limited. And as you become expanded, so will those connections, those resources, all those things. But so many people get stuck in that first one because they're not relentless in their pursuit of expansion.
Yeah. Has that ever happened to you?
Well,
Like the whole, this is Drake. This is when your idols become your rivals.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I was going to say too that it's a little bit of fearing what you don't know, like talking about calling our friends back home in the South or wherever, in the Bay or wherever, just being like, how have you not grown? How have you not evolved from here? I feel like there's a little bit of fearing what you don't know. Like what you see around you is comfortable, attainable. Maybe what's in, media is fearful. Remember when I came to Hollywood, people were like afraid that I was going to lose my way and all of those things, fearing what you don't know. So I think that can also be a reason why we stay in that corner.
Well, also, I think the people that do stay in whatever way you define that, they're still growing. They're just growing in particular areas. Whereas certain people have chosen to grow in exponential areas, right? So they're still slowly chugging along, but they're learning different lessons that pertain to a smaller world that they've built for themselves, Whereas there's different kind of people like dreamers who set out to learn and expand their world, which is what you're talking about. And we're just learning, how do you say, like new lessons of expansion, while they're learning what it means to stay at a job for 30 years. I would never know what that feels like, which it must take some measure of like dedication, like you have to, to go be at it. Like my sister has been at her job for like 30 years. And there has to be, she's been in New York for a long time. Now, granted, it's New York, so who wouldn't want to stay in New York? But the amount of effort it must take to do the same thing for 30 years, that taps into a whole different side of you. Whereas I couldn't imagine doing that. But I do agree with the sense of like, it is different for us because we do expand because of the type of person that we are. We're more wanderers, But have you ever had someone in the sense, because I've never had a leader that I've experienced this with. I'm trying to think.
Where you didn't want to surpass, or what do you mean?
Where they didn't want me to surpass them, or me even leading someone and selfishly, I never had that because every group I started, I've always wanted everyone to win.
Yeah, I don't know how the woman who taught me how to do stand-up comedy feels about me. I don't know. I've never had a conversation with her about it. So I can't speak on her end, but I know that I did surpass what she has done. So I don't know if she looks at me and is proud and is like, yeah, she took my class. I taught her, watching my new material going, yeah, I taught her that rule of three. Yeah, I taught her how to do that reversal. Yeah, like I wonder if she looks at my specials that I'm now about, after the end of this year, I will have 6 specials. Wow. Like, I wonder if she looks at them and is like,
do you ever big
well
her up?
done.
Do you feel like you big her up enough?
So I do in interviews. I mention her when people ask my story, like, where did you learn? How did you start in stand-up? I took a free class at a church. And I'll bring her up in interviews like that. We kind of had a little bit of a falling out, not really having anything to do with comedy. So we don't talk. But, and so I don't just like talk about her in every interview. But when it's appropriate, I definitely have dropped her name and been like, yes, Lisa Alvarado, she's the one who taught me. So
I had 2 experiences, one being good, one being bad. I'll talk about the bad one first, just to get it out of the way, because the good one's good. But before I got employed at I said I added an extra
employed.
What are we doing? What are we finna get into, man? Before I got employed at the church that I talked about, this is where I got done playing basketball. Maddie and I first meet, we end up being on staff there as soon as we get married. Before that, I was helping out at a church, and the pastor was like a really good guy. But it was funny because over time, like obviously he started giving me, like a little chance here, a little chance there. And I always felt like I'm like, bruh, like I could preach the house down if I wanted to. I don't understand why I'm not preaching.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be like, hey, well, you could lead the small group. And I'm like, bruh, lead the small group. You realize like I'm flying out next week, and because the church is having me out speak. And, maybe there was a little bit of like, God trying to teach me a little bit of humility. But at the same time too, I'm like, I already know I'm gifted, and I know I'm passionate about what I say. It's going to come out good. And so it kind of became this thing where there wasn't any opportunities. And when there's no opportunities, there's no real room for growth to happen. So it's like I'm constantly remaining in the same cycle, doing the same things over and over again. And what I was feeling God do in my life, I will say, was that I felt like God was like, hey, it's time. I need you to step out and start speaking up. So nothing was happening. So then we were having these conversations, these little like mentorship conversations, and I was just explaining my heart. And in a lot of ways, it was kind of like, no, I need you to just kind of be here in this corner. Like, just stay here. You're going to be attracting other young people to come. We're creating kind of a thriving community. You're kind of at the helm of it, yada, yada, yada. And I just felt like, man, I'm wanting more. Like, I'm not really getting fed in this, and I'm not really getting opportunities. Like, I don't understand why I'm here. So at that place, this other church that I end up working at was in talks with me at that time. And they're like, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to give you this. These are opportunities you have. So I bring it to him, and I was like, hey, this is what's happening. And he really made me feel bad for wanting more opportunities and actually getting a paid position to be at a completely different church.
Wow.
And I realized in that moment, I was like, oh, like this has had so much to actually do with control over me. Like this has been kind of like, I'm one of those figures, I guess, in this church community that actually like is like, oh, here's a young up and coming, in 15, 20 years, you'll have your chance. And I always felt funny about that. Like, I'm always like, yo, let's give the youth the microphone. The youth are always going to win. You know what I'm saying? So that was a part where I really felt like you're not actually preparing me to surpass you. You're preparing me to just kind of be here under you. There's a difference. And I felt that difference. And I had a complete opposite thing with who I've talked about before. Shout out Ryan Price. Where Ryan, he only played, I think, like D2, and he played junior college basketball. Amazing dude, right? He started investing in my life in 5th grade, picking me up, was like, yo, we're going to make you a D1 basketball player, yada, yada, yada.
I love that he saw it in you in 5th grade.
I know, which is crazy, And the fact that it wasn't just like nice talk, like, hey, you're going to do good someday, kid.
Yeah.
But like actually like, hey, I'll come pick you up tomorrow at 5:45 in the morning. And so Ryan, man, like his whole thing was like, man, I want to make you the best you can be, and like really put me on. And again, were there maybe better trainers out there who could have prepared me? Absolutely, probably. But there would have been nobody who cared as much as him. And I stuck with him for as long as I could until he moved down to Orange County. And so I was loyal to him because I was like, yo, you see it and you're making me what you couldn't be. And that's beautiful. And that's almost, it was so impactful in my life. That's one of the reasons that I do what I do today is training kids, because Ryan made such an impact in my life that I realized I'm like, it was such a beautiful moment when I knew that I had surpassed him, that I was like, man, like it was always in my heart to be better than him. And it was always in his heart for me to be better than him. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Because why would he waste his own time waking up early, going to pick you up, investing in you so that you could stay beneath whatever he's done?
Yeah.
That would make no sense.
Why would he do that? Wow.
But most people do. I think it's an ego thing,
Yeah.
It is. It's very much so. And maybe I don't, maybe I should be like actually grateful for all the leaders that were in my life, because I've never felt, I felt some weird stuff of people trying to make me not allow me to be me, but I don't know if it was ever like they didn't want me to surpass them.
Like putting you down?
Yeah, they just probably didn't like certain things about me.
Okay, but have you ever had, this is actually an interesting question I've never asked you. Have you ever had a mentor? Because I've always known you from your stories that you tell me of like high school and growing up, that you're the self-starter. You're the one who's like, I'm going to do music, I'm going to do this, but not really like under someone. Like, have you ever even had a mentor that you were like...
Yeah, like, well, when I was able, like in middle school, no, nor in elementary, I was kind of too young and I was out there running in the streets. High school as well, I didn't really care for a mentor. But when I first got, quote unquote, you know, when I got saved and I started going to church, you know, Pastor Johnny in Faith, I think he did a really great job at getting us involved. And I took discipleship courses. You know, I was kind of always cool with him. Like, we had leaders, but I never really I was just cool with Pastor Johnny. And Pastor Johnny always just put me on the rap CD. He did, like, we didn't hang out every day, and he wasn't like pouring into me every day. But I don't really, as you know, I don't really need much. You give me a couple of drips of water and I'm gonna take that shit and run with it. And that's what he did. He put me on the worship CDs, rapping. I never thought he'd do that on worship songs. What, you kidding me? I thought it was a joke. I remember the first time he said, "Yo, you're gonna I'm gonna put you on this
Lord,
CD."
we lift your name on
Yeah,
high.
legit.
Yo.
It's exactly
all the way up.
I thought he was joking, because I was like, this white pastor is not gonna want me on his CD rapping. And sure enough, I came to the church when they were practicing, and he's like, "Hey, we're practicing your song. Are you ready to go?" And I was like, "You were serious about that?" He was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready. Let me just I'm gonna rehearse real quick." So while they're rehearsing, I'm writing the verse.
Oh,
wow!
I didn't believe it at all. So I write the verse right there during rehearsal. I get up, I do it, and then I end up being a staple. He lets me do, you know, we go out and we do ministry in the hood. I rapped in South Africa. Like, I was just the rap guy. He put me on every CD after that. And so it's just like a bit of water that kind of kept me going. But I never had like a mentor in the sense. Honestly, I think because, not that I didn't want to put myself under someone, but it is tough for me to put myself under somebody when I don't see them running as fast as me. And it ain't even that it's almost like I would have, because they were running so much slower, I knew, not that I knew everything, but I knew that me learning the hard way was going to be quicker than me waiting for them to catch up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I was going to make mistakes. I was going to stumble, but that stumbling was going to be a better teacher than this person who's like coasting.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until and I don't even know if it was a mentor, but like when I started doing music with Jaja, he was the only other person that was running as fast as me. So me and him kind of like helped each other at the beginning of music. But ever since then, I can't even point to a mentor. I'm so glad for social media, because I think people are my mentors now and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, preachers too, like TD Jakes.
Yeah, I there was a season where I was listening to TD Jakes all the time, and we would send him money every year. Probably doesn't know us at all, but I would be like, we'd be sending him money at the end of the year, because I'm like, he don't know it, but his
YouTubes.
Yeah, his YouTubes did so much for me in that season, you know. And now I'm on a different season. I haven't listened to TD in a while, but now it's a roar season. Now it's a different season, because obviously, and I think TD Jakes is getting there as far as like going a little bit outside of conservatism, because he's done so much. But now in studying these new types of pastors that literally have been thinking the way we're thinking, it's exciting. So now I don't even know who would be the mentor. I guess maybe in a kind of way we all are, but to a degree, I would imagine. I don't know, because I kind of look up to you guys and learn so much. I mean, but that's just me. I'm lucky to have good friends.
You're welcome.
Yeah, baby. I'm always looking up to you, Queen. I do.
And I think too, that is an evolved form of being an apprentice, is that sometimes it's not about just being under one person. It's about being exposed to all these people, taking their ideas, these grand things that they think about, certain aspects, and then you take all of that together and you make it your own.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it's all about, is like, hey, how can I take these ideas and make it my own? Which is kind of like, again, maybe not in anybody's heart is there like, I just want you to stay stuck in this corner. but that intention gets exposed when that dynamic becomes about control.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, I don't actually like these ideas in you taking it into your own form. I like these ideas when it looks like me. Right? That's where sometimes like that leadership, that mentor aspect could get a little toxic. But it's understanding like, I want to let you be you. Okay. And I want you to do your thing, even if I don't have control of that. I think to me, that's sometimes where it's like, that's hard for some people.
Yeah. And understanding that everybody can eat, right?
Yeah.
That's something like in just a few times, like our good friend Joe Coy, he's that kind of person where he's always just like, he's another comedian close with Ange, and he just always freely gives knowledge, information. The first time we met with Kevin Hart in Nashville. Like we went backstage. No one was supposed to be backstage, and he led us backstage. And then he sat and talked with us for like 30, 40 minutes, right?
Wow.
Telling Ange all the stuff that she needs to do. Yo, you need to do this. You got to be doing this. And just giving it away because there's like, and they're so successful because there's an understanding of like, I can give you everything that I know, but here's one thing that successful people know. 99% of the people won't do what they say because they don't want to put in the work. Like Ange said in the last episode or this episode. And that wasn't a diss. It's just, Kevin Hart works at a pace that's very few people are going to compete with that guy.
I'm not trying to.
Yeah. So, but they also understand that their lane is their lane. And when you fully grasp that what you're doing and your voice and your ability to affect the world, you're the only person that can do it. You're not intimidated by anybody else. And that was like, I remember my friend William,
Matthews?
not
Just
Matthews, William McDowell back in Orlando. He wanted me to read this once. He pointed out something when Jesus was doing the Sermon on the Mount at the end of it, one of the translations said that the people heard and were amazed because he spoke as one who had power. And the irony is that he would always start them with, you have heard it said before, blase, blase, blah, but I tell you, blase, blase, blah. So what he was saying was, I'm not giving you anything new because we all know these scriptures. We all know the Torah. We all understand these laws. But I'm just going to take it a step further. I'm going to give you my interpretation of what's already there. And it hit me when I understood that, because that meant what I could say the same thing someone else is saying. And because I'm saying it through my lens, it's going to hit people differently. Even though it wasn't something new.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what I think about something that's been there forever. And that changed my life. That and watching Reinhard Bonnke. Have you ever heard of Reinhard Bonnke?
Yeah.
Bro. Okay, so Reinhard is like this. I forgot where he's from. I want to say he's from Europe somewhere, but
Yeah, he's from Germany.
there you go, Germany. And he's like a big time speaker, and he speaks like crusades.
Yeah,
right?
like I mean, in his crusades, he's led, like responded, like people filling out cards, coming to church the next day. He's led over like 50 in his lifetime. He passed. In his lifetime, he led over 58 million people to the Lord.
Insanity, right?
Wild.
And this is how it hit me, because he gave a sermon at our church in Faith Assembly back in the day that I was bawling, right? And this is all he said that rocked my world. He was like, preach Jesus as Savior and he will save. Preach Jesus as healer and he will heal. That's it. And I was like, holy shit. It was like fresh revelation from like a spring of life. And it was like anyone, like, yeah, bro, Savior because he saves people, healer because he heals people. But it came out of his mouth, someone who's actively out there going in the whole world, saving and healing people. It just hit me different. And I was just bawling. And I was like, man, he didn't even say anything deep. He didn't say anything deep. Why is it hitting me so hard? And it was because of that exact thing, because it was him. And ever since then, that solidified something in me where it's like, Don't need to compete. There's very much a lane for me. And when people hear it from me, it's going to hit certain people differently. So it's like I always would get annoyed when I would do interviews, and this is something popular in music. What would you compare yourself to, like in the music space, and how are you different? And I would always answer them like this, and they probably thought I was cocky as hell, but I would always be like, because I'm me. Next question. And they'd be like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, because I'm me. There's no other me than me. And the way I see and say everything is unique to me. So I am different because I'm me. Next question. And that would be it. And they didn't get anything from it, but I firmly believed it. I think all of us have that within us, that we just have an ability because it is us, who we are,
I hear you.
Should we get a mentor or should I get one? I'm trying to think. Maybe I should go get a mentor. I guess I do kind of have.
I mean, you have your YouTube mentors.
I think our business managers are my mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's anybody that you're learning and gleaming from.
Yeah.
And that it's like
and that you're actively seeking information from, and they're actively giving it to you.
That serves as a mentor. Now, depending on, like, some mentors don't actually have to be friends. Sometimes it's like a strictly like informational connection here. And then there's other people that you go to for, one, to hear you out, and two, to give you like that tidbit of like advice of like, hey, I think you should really consider, I think you should think about it. I think you should look at it this way. And in that dynamic at that moment, that is a mentor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I feel like I have a lot of mentors in my life, and seasons have had, and there's big bros that I still have that I still talk to every once in a while, and like, so.
Babe, do you think you have one?
Krista Black has definitely been a mentor to me. Again, same seasons, different people in my life, but also my friendships. Like you were saying earlier, like I learned so much from you. I learned so much from you, from William, from Maddie. I definitely come to you guys with any kind of like feeling that I have or thought, or even after that movie where I was like, Moonfall was spiritual for me.
we do have and we do have we are very lucky because our tight circle is so deep.
We do not live on a surface level.
No, it's all. So many levels to our way of thinking. It's like levels on levels on levels, and we have very deep and profound thinkers within our small little circle. That it's our text thread it's hilarious, but at the same time it can get really like deep, and I feel like it's so dope because we always leave learning.
I'm laughing because there'll be moments where, say, I was at work or something, and I come back and it's like 30 missed text messages, and it's just this deep dive into what's happening. And I was like, I'll pick back up on the next round. There's not time to catch up. So I do love that because I feel like I'm constantly learning from you guys so much, and William and Johnny and of course Maddie. And so it's cool because I feel like I'm like, oh, there might not be a sole mentor in my life. But that responsibility is now held by my entire tribe. Mm-hmm. And it's like a beautiful evolution of like, for me, I feel like in my growing and my evolving.
And that's how this podcast was started.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. I think what we're trying to say is there will be times where you do need someone, a specific person. I know a couple of y'all I'm currently coaching, and the mentorship is going awesome. And then there's some of y'all who need to be a mentor. And then there's some of y'all who may be in the place that B was talking about where which one of our VIPs were in that? I remember Joanna was telling us about that, her situation, where you're in a place where, you may not be getting set up to be the winner in your own life, to be someone who they want you to win in every area that you possibly can, and use your potential and set you up and send you out to be amazing. And I think there are some keys that you heard in this episode that you'll be able to know in your heart, like whether or not someone is setting you up, which would be mentioned, which was if you don't see opportunities being created for you, then that you are there to be under that person, and that's it. And they'll use you as long as they can, and then when you're done, hopefully they'll be nice and send you off in a nice way. Most of the times it doesn't happen, but that's a good way to find out if you're that person that you are. There's no, I guess I was about to say future hope, but that sounds a little bit too negative.
Very bleak.
Yeah, that just may not be the place for you. You may just want to keep it moving. And for other of you, like, make yourself available to be a mentor. There's people all around you that you probably know a lot more than, and they would love to be able to speak to you, which is kind of why I always invite people on the podcast, random ass people off of the internet. And I'll talk and I'll do Zooms because I'm just like, hey, I got time and they have questions. So why not, right? You never know who you're going to affect. You don't know how many Ryan Prices are out there. So we love you guys. We hope you enjoy this episode. Please send us comments and share this if you feel like somebody needs to hear it. And check out this Wordiful game. It's really, really good. We have enjoyed it, and I can't wait to play more. We should always bring that.
Wordiful, WORDAFUL.
Yeah, Wordiful. We'll put a link. We'll put a link in the description so you guys can check it out.
Also, we'll do this. If you've listened this far, hit me up on Instagram, and I'll buy you the book that I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So right now, the first person to hit me up,
boom,
St. B. Smith, I will buy you the book and ship it to you.
Boom.
All right.
You have that. We love you guys so much, and we always like to say, we pray you find a seat at the table. But if you don't, you're always welcome at ours. Cheers.
Cheers.